Over the heads of the men of 13th Legion came a volley of fire pots, a terrifying weapon that spread fire and death where it landed. Marcus Flavius Antonius, 1st century Centurion, 1st cohort, 13th Legion, grinned. They had come to kill Gauls, and by the gods, they would kill Gauls. The 1st century of the Legion was stacked with veterans, and every member was a soldier of at least 10 years. Not one of them would break in battle, and not one of them would shy from the clash of arms. From the barbarians came screams of agony until their commander couldn't hold them back any longer. And the undisciplined masses streamed forth, roaring and screaming as they came. "Century!" roared out Marcus, getting the attention of his elite veteran soldiers. "Pilum at the ready." The first two ranks of men stepped forward and pulled the first of their two javelins out. Throw. The pilum arced forth, smashing into the front lines of the Gallic charge, killing and wounding dozens. If one hit a shield, the soft metal of the shaft bent, tearing the shield away from its owner. Throw. A second volley, as deadly as the first, as the two ranks quickly made their way back into the Roman lines. A ragged volley of arrows rose up from the Gauls. Nonetheless, each arrow was deadly on its own, and each one was aimed at the Roman lines. "Shields!" snapped out the Centurion, and his men raised their shields above their heads. There was a scream, as an arrow came down faster than one of the legionaries could get his shield up. But the men came through mostly unscathed and prepared to face the Gauls. "Out, swords!" "Rah!" shouted the men of the century, their one testament to a battle cry. Undignified screaming was for the barbarians. Romans were disciplined. One shout in unison, as they drew their gladi to terrify the barbarian horde, then silence. "Race!" cried out Marcus, even as the centurions down the line yelled out the same thing. The men in the second placed their shields against the backs of the men in the first and dug their feet in. Marcus felt the pressure of a shield on his back even through his armor, but it was nothing new. The shock of a Gallic infantry charge was nothing new to the seasoned veterans of Caesar's 13th Legion. Marcus could make out the raving eyes of the Gauls now, and one barbarian in particular stood out. Well over 6 feet tall, with wildly blonde hair and piercing blue eyes. His face was dirty, but his war axe looked sharp and well maintained. Marcus raised his shield and set his feet. The sound of the battlefield seemed to dim in the instant before the barbarians hit the line of Romans, until all Marcus could hear was the pumping of his own blood in his veins. Then, it all came rushing back. The great metallic clash as the Gauls smashed into the Roman lines. The axe-wielding barbarian roared and brought his axe up over his head, set to cut Marcus in half. Marcus raised his shield at a slight angle, caught the descending blade and deflected it off to the side, and stabbed straight out. His blade split the barbarian's stomach, and he fell howling. Marcus brought his shield back down and set himself back in place, just in time to deflect a wild sword cut, and riposte with the point of his gladius in the barbarian's throat. Blood splattered the centurion's face, blinding him. He raised his shield and wiped his eyes clear. When he brought his shield back down, however, he saw a barbarian club aimed directly at his head. Marcus began to bring his shield back up, but he knew it was too late. The club smashed into Marcus's head, and there was a moment of blinding pain, then blackness. When Marcus woke back up, he sat up and preemptively winced at the pain from his head. It took him a moment to realize there was no pain. He looked around. The room he was in was colored entirely white and emitted a faint glow. Not even the butchers they call surgeons could have saved me. Could this be the bank of the river Styx? Marcus wondered to himself. If it was, he could feel no coin in his mouth, meaning he was doomed to wander the wrong side of the river for eternity. A part of the wall slid open, and Marcus scrambled his way up. He was clad in nothing but a white tunic, of a fabric he did not know, but it was soft and he was dead, so perhaps silk. Whatever it was, it would not be much use in battle, or even in shielding him from a cold day. There was a metal collar around his neck, but it was nearly weightless and felt warm to the touch. Some manner of creature walked in. It was ugly and short, with a massive head and stocky body. Its skin was green, and what was not covered by a white tunic similar to Marcus's own, looked scaly. "Come with me," it said in perfect Latin. Marcus gaped at it. He'd served with Caesar for 20 years and fought his way through 100 battles. He'd seen men gutted in battle and men crucified for cowardice. But he had never seen anything even close to this thing. "What are you?" he whispered. "I am your new owner," the creature said, and Marcus detected a hint of impatience. No, there must be some mistake. I am Centurian Marcus Flavius Antonius. Centurion of the 1st century, of the 1st cohort of Caesar's 13th legion, Gauls. Marcus fell to his knees, the metal collar having emitted some kind of burning pain that ravaged his body. He looked at the small creature. "Did Charon send you to punish me for not bringing him a coin? Damn you, infernal being. I am a centurion of Rome. I will have Elysium, Gaul." The creature looked down impassively as the collar did its work again and again until Marcus was covered in a cold sweat, curled up on the floor. "Come with me, Centurion Marcus Flavius Antonius." The creature smirked with a face human enough for Marcus to understand that much, though not much more. 2 bright red eyes and a mouth with no nose that he could see. Seeing no alternative, Marcus followed docilely. But in his mind, he swore to kill this creature one day. "What do you want from me?" Marcus asked darkly. The creature didn't stop walking, but called over his shoulder. "You will address me as master, slave." "What do you want from me, master?" Marcus practically spat the last word, but the creature didn't seem to notice. "You are a warrior on your world. You will fight for me." "I fight for Rome. I fight for Caesar himself. I do not fight for green monsters at all." This time the pain from the collar brought Marcus to his knees in a single shot. "Insults will get you nowhere, slave. And you will fight for me, or you will have thousands of gignac dumped into you again and again until you die." The creature paused, and Marcus thought he detected a hint of curiosity. "Your language does not have a word for gignac. Curious." "What is gignac, master?" Marcus added hurriedly. The collar hurt, and there was no use in antagonizing the filthy beast. "I have neither the time nor the patience to catch your mind up with technology thousands of years ahead of your time. Suffice to say, it is a very small dosage of lightning." "You have harnessed the power of Jupiter?" Marcus asked, horrified. Such an action was nothing less than heresy, and terrifying heresy at that. "Jupiter?" The creature paused for a moment. Marcus could not know it, but his new owner was accessing a database of knowledge of primitive species, including humans. "Ah yes, Jupiter. The storm god. Yes, we have harnessed his power." The creature's voice was deadpan, as though it did not understand the impossibility of its statement. "Now keep walking," it said, and they continued onward. At last, they came to a door, and the creature gestured Marcus in. Marcus walked in, and the door slammed shut behind him. "Get some sleep, slave. Tomorrow, you fight." Author's name and the link to original text is in the description. Consider tapping the thumbs up and pressing the subscribe button if you enjoyed this video.